Alright, so this video is my first fight in jail. So I get to the county jail. This is like one of my first times in jail. I had just came from California to Maine. And even though I had went to school in Maine in elementary school and junior high, I was always going back and forth. So I didn't really know anybody in jail. There were a couple people that I recognized, but it had been so long since I had seen them that we didn't even talk to each other. So I'm in the jail. Everybody knows everybody. Portland, Maine is a very small town. I mean, in Maine, it's considered a big town, but looking from the outside point of view from California, Portland is a very small town. So everybody in the jail knows everybody. All the inmates know the guards. All the guards know the inmates. Some of the inmates have relatives that are married to guards, and just very, very tight-knit. So, yeah, so I didn't know anybody. I get in there, and there's like 6 different tables. One of the tables is where people read. One of the tables is where like the black people get their hair braided. Another table is where people play chess. Another table is where people sit to watch the TV. And then another table is the poker table. I don't play poker anymore, but I did at this point. So I go in, and you got the house. So the house is basically usually like the toughest kid in there. So you got like the toughest kid and the second toughest kid, and they kind of designate themselves to be the house. So what they do is they take playing cards, and they rip up the playing cards, and they make poker chips. So they'll do cash games where so commissary is once a week. So the house will keep a little piece of paper, and each buy-in is, I want to say, like each buy-in is like $5. So each time somebody buys in, the house marks a little notch, and that's $5. They buy in again, they get another notch. And then at the end of the week, if you're down, then the house will give you a list and say, all right, you need to get this off the commissary list, and then this is what you owe me. And then if you're up, you give them a list and you say, this is what I want, and then on commissary day, they pay you. So yeah, that's kind of the way it works. And the house is always changing. So the house will be like, the toughest kid, but then he'll get rolled out for getting in a fight, or he'll get transferred to a different pod, or he'll go to another county for court or something. And as he's leaving, he gives the house to somebody else, and he'll take the notepad that's full of people's debts, and he'll give that notepad to somebody else. So if the house leaves and you owe money, best believe somebody's going to be coming up to your door giving you a list. So I start playing poker, and when I lived in California, I played a lot of poker, and I got very, very good. No limit hold'em. And so when I go into jail, I see an opportunity to make some money and kill some time. I'm totally against poker now. I hate poker. It ruined a big part of my life. I don't like it. But like I said, the very first time I went to jail, I was playing. So before I got to jail, I had gotten into a fight with a buddy of mine named Joel. It was over like disrespect or something. He was an ex-Marine, and he had a short fuse. Me and Joel got into a fight, and it was raining out, and I'm going to swing on him, and I slip on the ground, and like I mess up my knee. So my knee got messed up from that fight. So I had a bum knee, and it was pretty bad. It wasn't just sore. It was pretty bad. It was bad enough to the point where I could barely walk on it. Definitely couldn't fight on it. Also, I don't remember if it was from the fight with Joel or from something else, I think it was from the fight with Joel. But I couldn't make a fist. I couldn't make a fist with my left hand or my right hand. Like when I tried to make a fist, it was like I could only close it like halfway. So I can't make a fist with my left hand. I can't make a fist with my right hand. And I have a bum leg. So nobody knows this, okay? I've kept this hidden because I don't want anybody to know that I'm weak. So we're playing poker and I'm winning a lot. And every time I win, there's this guy. His name's Matt, and Matt's like a skinhead. He's got a Nazi symbol on his chest, on his stomach, and he's always talking crap, and he's always going in people's cells and fighting. In the pod, the pod is set up. There's about there's about 80 people in the pod. So you have your downstairs and your upstairs. 40 people downstairs, 40 people upstairs. About roughly, maybe a little bit more. And Matt is like a bully. He goes in, beats people up, takes the commissary. Real racist kid too. Didn't like blacks, didn't like Mexicans, even though there really wasn't any much blacks or Mexicans. But yeah, he was racist. And so we're playing poker, and every time I go to the poker table, Matt's always playing. And every time I would win a hand, he'd call me the B word. And I was just like, man, like, and the way he'd say it would be pretty aggressive. Like I'd win a hand, and he'd be like, you know, and say the B word to me. And I'm just like, dude, like, this kid keeps punking me out in front of all these people, right? And so I feel like I can fight. Like, I've been in some fights, and, you know, I've gone on points in my life where I've lifted a lot of weights. I've always been athletic, and people always mistake me. Like, people never think that I can fight, and then when I fight, they're like, oh, okay, I guess you can fight. So I say, me and my cellmate are talking. I tell my cellmate, I said, listen, I said, if Matt calls me the B word again, if he's disrespectful to me, I said, I'm gonna fight him. I said, I can't keep getting punked out at the poker table like that. I said, it's making me look really, really bad. He's like, all right, yeah, do your thing. So we're playing poker again, and I win a hand. And, it was a tournament. That's right, it was a tournament, and I won the tournament. And then after I won the tournament, Matt tried to say that I didn't win, even though I, like, clearly won. Matt tried to say that I didn't win, and he said that he won, and he tried to punk me out, and he called me the B word. And I was mad. And so I stood up from the chair, and I said, dude, I'll fight you right now. And he gets up immediately. Immediately. Like, I tell him I want to fight. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Immediately. And I knew he was going to do that. Keep in mind, I know that I'm going to lose this fight. I can't even make a fist. And I knew that if he got me down on the ground, I knew that it was going to be impossible for me to get up, because the thing with my leg, like, if I was on the ground, my leg was so bad that I needed assistance to get back up. So going into the fight, that was just my main thing. I'm like, I can't get on the ground. I cannot get into a fetal position, because if I get into a fetal position, he's going to get me. So we go into the handicap cell, which was like twice as big as the regular cells. And he takes off his shoes, and I take off my shoes, and I just rush him, and I start swinging, and I start trying to hit him, and then boom, he hits me, right? And the kid hits hard. He hit. Man, it hurt. And so I keep fighting, and then he cracks me again in the same spot. Boom! It's like, man, right? And I keep fighting, cracks me again in the same spot. And I'm yelling. Keep in mind, this is my first fight. I don't know much about, like, jail rules, but I'm being pretty loud. I'm like, you know, like, and I can see people, like, walking by, watching the fight. And I said, all right, man. I said, you won. He's like, all right, you're good? And I was like, yeah. And so, and so that was that. He puts his shirt on, and you got people coming in, like, trying to see the damage. And so Matt leaves the cell first, and you got some of the other guys coming over, and they're like, they're like, man, we could hear it, man. Like, and so I go into my cell, and Anthony comes over. Anthony's in there for murder. Big black guy. They called him Ant. Ant comes in, and he's got a stick of cocoa butter, and he's giving me the cocoa butter, telling me to put it around my eye. And the other white guys come in, and they say, listen, wow, we don't want you to come out of the cell for a few days because we don't want the guards to see that you got roughed up. So we'll feed you, we'll give you soups. Just kind of lay low and stay in your cell. And I was like, all right. And so people start coming up to my cell, and they're like, man, like, congratulations on the fight, man. You stood up to him. Like, thanks for doing that, because he's been punking out a lot of people, and you had the balls to stand up to him. And so the guards ended up. The next day, the first day, like, it was just my eye was a little puffy. But then the next day, like, you could clearly see I had a black eye. And then the day after that, the black eye got worse. And then the third day, I remember the black eye was even worse than before. I had this big, gigantic black and blue circle around my eye. And I knew that I had gotten Matt, and I remember seeing him the first day and looking at him, and he didn't have a mark on him. I'm just like, man, like, I know I got him, but I was like, all right, I guess I must not have gotten him that good. But then after the third day, after my black eye really came out, he actually had a black eye too. So I felt some sort of like pride knowing that his black eye wasn't as bad as mine, but at least it showed, and everybody knew that we had fought. Everybody. So everybody could see that Matt had a little black eye too. So, people were giving me my respect. And then one of the guards saw that I had a black eye, so he says, we need to bring you to medical. And then one of the other white guys goes up to the guards and says, hey, no, this is what happened. So one of the guys, he was like one of the seasoned convicts. We were outside, and my black eye was pretty clear, and so they knew that the guards were going to say something. So and it was like, if the guards would have found out, it would have made the pod hot, and there was a lot of contraband floating around. So the guy didn't want the pod to get hot. So what he did is he went up to the guard station and said, hey, guard, I just want to let you know that we were out on the basketball court, and I accidentally gave Timothy an elbow. You might need to go and see medical. And the guard knows. The guard's laughing. He's like, yeah, he caught an elbow, huh? He says, if I had a nickel for every time somebody caught an elbow on the basketball court, he said, I'd be rich. So the guard pulls me. He says, Colin, you want to go to medical? And I said, no. He says, well, you're going to have to go and see the nurse. I was like, all right. So they put me in the Sally port, and then the same guard who was in the pod, he escorts me out, and he brings me down to medical. He says, come on. He says, what happened? And being so green and being so new to jail, like, I wanted to tell him, like, yeah, me and Matt got into a fight, and not that I wanted to rat on Matt, but I kind of wanted to tell him, like, yeah, I got into a fight, kind of like just to brag about it. But I went against my judgment, and I'm like, that's probably not a good idea to say anything. And so I just kept my mouth shut, and I didn't say anything. I just went along with the story about the basketball court thing, and he just kind of laughed about it. So he brings me to medical. Medical gives me an ice pack, some ibuprofen, and the guy escorts me back, and he's really prodding for information. Like, he wants to know who did it so we can pull him out. And I don't say anything. And then I get back to the pod, and everybody starts questioning me. They're like, hey, like, did they ask you any questions? I said, yeah. I said they wanted to know, like, what happened. They're like, well, what'd you say? I was like, well, I didn't say anything. And everybody's like giving me props. And so everybody in the pod, well, the tough guys at least, the tough guys thought that Matt was going to get pulled out because they thought that I had said something. But after a few days goes by and they realize I didn't say anything, people come up, start giving me mad respect. They're like, dude, you didn't rat. You didn't say nothing. You went in. You fought him. None of you guys got in trouble. Like, he said, there's a lot of tough guys in this pod. He says, but those tough guys, they won't go into a cell and fight. He said, but you went in there and you handled your business. And, we give you a lot of respect. And so I remember walking around with that black eye for a couple weeks as like a badge of honor. It was actually pretty cool. And there's more to, so as I go to prison and as I start digging myself deeper into the legal system by stupid decisions that I made, that fight actually carried me like my whole 5 years in jail and prison. Like, people remembered that fight. So whenever I'd get transferred somewhere else, people were like, oh yeah, he'll fight. He went in the cell, he fought Cooper. And so people remember that. And then the guy, Anthony, the guy who was in for murder, well, when I ended up going to prison, he had already been in prison for 2 years. So when I get to the prison, he remembers me, and he remembers me from fighting. So boom, now I automatically got like cred, like street cred in prison, because Anthony is like, he's known as one of the tough guys in prison. He had this gigantic knife, and he was pretty well respected because Anthony was from Queens, New York, and the entire prison was run by the gang members from New York. So I'm sure he told the gang members, yeah, he'll fight, So it was pretty cool, like getting up to prison and immediately having some sort of credibility. But when I went into the fight, I knew I was going to lose. I didn't want to fight, but I knew that I had to stick up for myself. But it was probably one of the smartest things that I could have ever done, because it really solidified me, and it got me out of some conflicts. Like, I didn't have to fight. There were some times where I was able to lean on my reputation, and people were like, yeah, he'll fight, so I didn't have to fight because people knew that I would fight. And it kind of gave me like a tough guy image, even though I'm not a tough guy, and I didn't want that image. You kind of need to have like some sort of toughness about you in jail, or else people are gonna like walk all over you and try to like extort you and just take things from you. So it was a really good thing that I did fight. That wasn't my only fight. That was my first fight. I will make another video about my second fight. I want to say like I got into, like, my whole time there, I've probably been in about 4 fights. But yeah, that was a meaningful fight. So if you ever go to jail and somebody calls you out, just fight. Even if you're going to get beat up, just fight, because nothing negative is going to come out of fighting in jail. It's only going to be positive. People in jail respect violence. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And if you show that you'll be violent, people will leave you alone, and that's what they did. All right, peace.